8. A not-so-hot and heavy hookup. A Florida man survived an attempted murder by sheer luck after being lured to a residence in Homestead for what he thought was a booty call. According to police, 25-year-old Hallie Conley invited the man over one evening in May of 2023. Upon arriving at the home, he entered the bedroom to find a man later identified as 36-year-old Isaiah Perez sitting in a chair. Then, just moments later, Conley entered the room with another man, identified by law enforcement as 35-year-old Rafael Ciprian, who allegedly robbed the visitor at gunpoint while threatening to kill him. Not knowing what else to do, the victim handed over $400 cash and his cell phone. According to the report, Ciprian pointed his gun at the man and pulled the trigger, but the weapon jammed, giving the victim enough time to pull his own gun. He then shot Perez in the arm and was attacked by Ciprian and Conley, who pistol-whipped him repeatedly as he pleaded with them to let him go. Luckily though, after fighting for his life and shooting Ciprian in the foot, the man was able to get away. As a result, Ciprian, Conley, and Perez were charged with armed robbery, attempted murder, and false imprisonment. But unfortunately, the status of the case is unclear. 7. John Dimick. While responding to a call at an Airbnb rental in Lake Worth Beach, Florida, one night in June of 2023, Palm Beach County deputies arrived to find the interior of the residence covered in a trail of blood. It led them to the bedroom, where they found a man laying in bed and holding a towel to his head. He said that he was in town from Arizona for work and that he came back to the Airbnb with a co-worker after having drinks together. Then a short while later, the victim heard the front door open. It was the co-worker's husband, 33-year-old John Dimick, who allegedly charged at the victim with a baseball bat, pinned him to the ground, and struck him at least 3 times. According to a report, Dimick's wife, later identified as Christy Barbato, pulled him off of the victim as he warned the man to never go near his wife again. The victim told an investigator that he believed he would have been bludgeoned to death if Barbato hadn't intervened. Surveillance footage reportedly showed Dimick entering the unit at around midnight, and moments later, a woman could be heard yelling, "John, stop, he's bleeding." Police also recovered video that appears to show Dimick's car near the crime scene. The investigator who took the victim's report paid a visit to Dimick's residence, where he found the suspect loading 2 garbage bags full of clothes into the trunk of his car. A search of the home turned up a baseball bat, which Dimick allegedly denied attacking anyone with. He also claimed that he never left his home on the night of the attack. In the end, Dimick was charged with attempted murder, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, and burglary with battery. The status of the case is unclear, but records show that nobody under Dimick's name is currently in custody. 6. Stephanie Navaro and Francisco Martinez Jr. Just days before Christmas in 2022, police in Weslaco, Texas responded to a call about the stabbing of a man who'd been lured into a robbery by a woman he met on Snapchat. The victim, who survived his injuries, told officers that he and Stephanie Navaro had been chatting for a few weeks when she invited him to her house. When he arrived, he noticed a man lurking suspiciously outside and drove away. But Navaro allegedly coaxed him into returning to the residence and then led him into the bedroom. According to an arrest report, Navaro told the man she was going to check on her kids and exited the room. She coughed as she walked out, and that's when the victim saw 4 or 5 men come out of a closet. They burst into the bedroom, where they beat the man, put him in a chokehold, stabbed him in the shin, and stole his wallet and cell phone. Luckily, the victim escaped and was able to drive himself to a hospital. The next day, a police officer pulled over a car occupied by Navaro and a man named Francisco Martinez Jr. Then, during a search of the vehicle, the cop found the victim's credit card. Navaro allegedly admitted to luring the man to her home with the intent to rob him and implicated Martinez in the crime. The pair were charged with aggravated robbery, credit card abuse, and engaging in organized criminal activity. But both defendants are currently out on bond pending the outcome of their cases. 5. Fiona Beal. 42-year-old Nicholas Billingham vanished in 2021 from the home he shared with his longtime girlfriend, 49-year-old schoolteacher Fiona Beal, in Northamptonshire, England. When he failed to show up at work, his boss went to the house looking for him. But Beal answered the door, and the man could see that she was visibly upset. She claimed that Billingham had cheated on her and had moved in with another woman. Billingham had a history of cheating throughout the couple's 17-year relationship, so his boss initially took the story at face value. A few weeks later, though, Beal seemed to be back to her normal self and was moving on with her life. During that same time period, Billingham's relatives became increasingly concerned for his well-being, but they respected his need for space after receiving text messages from his phone saying that he was laying low in the aftermath of his breakup with Beal. It wasn't completely unheard of for him to want some solitude while he worked things out in his mind, but it was also out of character for him to completely drop off the radar and go radio silent for very long. With no clear idea of where Billingham might have gone, his loved ones weren't exactly sure what to do. Then, in early 2022, around 5 months after Billingham was last seen, police responded to a call about a mentally unstable woman in distress at a vacation property Beal was renting. During the visit, officers peeked into Beal's diary and found an entry confessing to murdering Billingham and burying him in the backyard. According to Beal's own written words, she lured the victim into the bedroom with the promise of a good time, then put a mask on and stabbed him to death. She was convinced that Billingham had cheated on her again, and this time she apparently wasn't willing to forgive and forget. Police found Billingham's mummified remains buried on Beal's property, where she had painted over blood stains on the wall and carried on with life as if nothing had happened. Beal admitted to manslaughter but denied murdering Billingham. The trial was underway in June of 2023, when the judge abruptly stopped the proceedings and ordered a retrial for legal reasons which haven't been disclosed. So, for now, the case is ongoing. 4. Simon Wayuana. In February 2018, police in Anchorage, Alaska, received a 911 call from a Good Samaritan who reported seeing a man loading a dead body into his car. The caller's husband and son held the suspect, 33-year-old Simon Wayuana, at gunpoint until officers arrived. And when they arrived at the scene, inside the vehicle, the cops found the body of 42-year-old Sherry Ingram wrapped in sheets. Earlier that day, Wayuana had picked up Ingram on the street and brought her to his house with plans to pay her for intimacy. But at some point during the romp, the two got into an altercation. Wayuana lost control of his temper and stabbed Ingram to death. He was trying to get rid of her body before his girlfriend got home, when the Good Samaritans who called the police saw what he was doing and stopped him from leaving. The case finally came to a close in October 2023 after dragging its heels through the court system for more than 5 years. As part of a plea deal, Wayuana pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 50 years in prison. During his sentencing hearing, he said he regretted his actions and apologized to Ingram's family. And the victim's son offered a simple yet powerful response: "I forgive you and pray God has mercy on your soul." 3. Dana Jaak. While responding to an early morning call in Boynton Beach, Florida in July of 2023, officers arrived to find the man sitting naked in his car. He told the cops that he'd responded to a classified ad for massage services at the home of 34-year-old Dana Jaak, who led the victim into a bedroom and said she had to use the bathroom before they got started. Jaak then stepped out of the room, and that's when 26-year-old Javon Ewell and 36-year-old James Reed allegedly stormed in. The suspects instructed the victim to undress and ordered him to hand over his money, phone, and car keys. According to police, Reed took the man's belongings and exited the room. Fearing for his life, the victim shoved past Ewell and Jaak and ran outside, where he found Reed rummaging through his car. Ewell then chased after the man and punched him in the face several times before tossing his car keys into the street and fleeing the scene. Beal and Reed were charged with simple battery, burglary conveyance, false imprisonment, and robbery with a deadly weapon. Jaak allegedly refused to exit her home, sparking an hours-long standoff with law enforcement before she finally surrendered. In the end, though, she was charged with false imprisonment, robbery with a deadly weapon, and resisting arrest without violence. 2. Matthew Donaldson. 41-year-old Matthew Donaldson was an avid gamer and a recluse who wanted his first intimate experience to be memorable. In early 2021, he rented a 5-star hotel room in Sydney and scheduled an appointment with a 26-year-old Belarusian escort. They met in the hotel lobby and then retreated to Donaldson's room for their planned encounter. But a few hours later, police received a tip from an anonymous male caller about an injured woman in the hotel room. Paramedics arrived to find the escort unconscious in a pool of blood, with severe head wounds and facial injuries. She was rushed to the emergency room in critical condition and spent the next 3 months hospitalized as she underwent reconstructive surgeries. Her vision was damaged in the attack, and she now suffers from a permanent brain injury. At the scene, officers found a small sledgehammer which had been used to strike the woman in the head. Donaldson had fled before emergency responders arrived and was captured on surveillance footage at a nearby train station where he caught a ride out of town. Shortly after the attack, he'd posted some photos of the hotel room on social media along with the caption, "Game over." In a response to a comment asking him what video game he was playing on the TV, he responded, "Life or death, I lost." Donaldson was caught hiding in the bushland 2 days after the attack and was charged with attempted murder. According to police, he developed a growing obsession with violent adult videos and wanted to play out his fantasies in real life. He brought a so-called torture kit to the hotel room, containing rope, duct tape, a knife, the sledgehammer that he attacked the victim with, and other items. But he didn't get very far before the escort he'd hired became uncomfortable with his behavior. The two got into an argument revolving around the ethics of her job, and it escalated into the frenzied attack that almost claimed the woman's life. After the assault, Donaldson sent the escort a text message stating, "Should have picked a different career, honey." The court heard about how Donaldson had become increasingly frustrated with his inability to find a serious long-term partner. During police questioning, Donaldson claimed that voices in his head had told him to commit the horrific crime. He supposedly suffered from untreated schizophrenia, and the judge acknowledged that the defendant's ailing mental health may have influenced the delusional belief system that inspired him to carry out the attack. Donaldson pleaded guilty to attempted murder and 2 weapon-related charges. And after taking his mental health, his expressions of remorse, and his status as a first-time offender into consideration, the judge sentenced him to 9 years. He's required to serve at least 6 years in prison before becoming eligible for parole, which means that he could see freedom again as early as 2029. 1. Michelle Silas. During the early morning hours one day in September 2023, officers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin overheard a commotion in the streets and headed towards the noise. They watched as a naked man with blood running from his nether region approached a minivan with a gun in his hand and urged the driver not to leave. The woman behind the wheel, 31-year-old Michelle Silas, then exited the vehicle as the man dropped his gun and continued to yell hysterically. Silas told police that she was unable to get into the house upon arriving home because the chain lock was secured on the inside. She banged on the door until her children's father, listed only as BDJ in a police report, let her in. Understandably upset by being locked out of her own home, Silas asked what was going on. The man allegedly said he was getting it on with another woman in the bedroom and asked Silas if she wanted to join. According to the report, Silas entered the bedroom and watched for about 10 minutes as the pair shamelessly went at it on the floor. No longer able to control her emotions, Silas fired 2 bullets into the woman's neck and the back of her head, causing her to bite down on the man's privates. The victim, later identified as 22-year-old Destiny Carter, died from her injuries. Several hours earlier, the father of Silas's children had let himself into the apartment when Silas wasn't home. He then made himself something to eat and invited Carter over. Carter arrived at around 4 a.m. and they sat and talked for a little while before going into the bedroom. Silas told police that she didn't mean to shoot Carter, and she accused her children's father of hitting her after she reacted angrily to the situation at hand. As a result, she was charged with first-degree intentional homicide and now faces a potential life sentence if convicted. Would you rather date someone who slept with hundreds of people before meeting you but comes with no major drama, or someone who's been with far fewer people but has 3 kids with 3 different exes who they seem to constantly be at war with? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.